Hello, my name is Sandy Adamitis, the social media director for the Page International Screenwriting Awards, and your host for the Writers Hangout, a podcast that celebrates the many stages of writing, from inspiration to the first draft, revising, getting a project made, and everything in between. We'll talk to the best and the brightest in the entertainment industry and create a space where you can hang out, learn from the pros, and have fun. Hi, I'm Sandy Adamitis.
Hi, I'm Terry Sampson.
Writers, today we're going to do something new. We're doing History versus Hollywood, where we break down a movie, today the Amityville Horror, and tell you what actually happened. Now, the Amityville Horror was a movie from 1979. It was 1 hour and 57 minutes. Terry, when you were watching it, did it feel like 1 hour and 57 minutes?
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did. 15 minutes off would have been great.
Yeah.
It was written by Sandor Stern, who wrote for Mod Squad TV series, was based on a book by Jay Anson, and a story by George Lutz, and it starred James Brolin, a very young, handsome James Brolin.
Such hair.
What a head of hair.
Just beautiful.
Yes. Margot Kidder and Rod Steiger. Now, I found after Amityville Horror, at least 29 other movies. So it is a franchise with 30 movies in it.
Wow.
I had no idea.
I didn't either.
Okay. It's a movie that is based on real facts, and they just combined a crime that led to this family moving into the house in Amityville, Long Island. And when the movie opens, it's really a brutal opening, I felt.
Unbelievable. I forgot how brutal it was.
Yeah, you just see a dark house, doors opening, and people, kids and their parents, 3 kids and 2 parents just being shot in their bed.
Yes, this brings up the first conflict for me, and that was my rule, personal rule. When I first hear a gunshot, I get up and leave. That's my thing.
Terry, you're so dead on with regards to that, because later on, when we talk about this true crime that melds with this movie, the detectives were very surprised that nobody had gotten out of their beds. Like, how did this happen? And basically what happened is the son, the eldest son in the family, shot and killed his parents and his siblings. And the authorities were like, why didn't anybody get up? And one of the theories is the eldest son drugged the family.
Oh.
So that's why nobody got out of their bed, because the oldest sister was 3 floors up. And if he started in the bottom and went up, she had time to hide or get out of bed.
Exactly.
Or if we reverse it, the parents had time to. But all the victims were found laying on their stomachs.
That couldn't have happened. That was staged after that for some reason.
There's also a theory that the eldest son, who ultimately confessed for the true crime. Again,
Okay.
The movie starts with a true crime. A family moves in, and the movie is their story. Another family moves in, and they think that the elder son could have killed them at different parts of the house and then put them in their beds. But there were no blood trails or anything like that. But that is one of the theories that people who believe that the son was possessed by a demon that lived in their basement, is that something weird was going on. So that's how the movie opens. And it is a pretty brutal opening. And then we see a lovely couple, James Brolin and Margot Kidder, checking out the house with a great real estate agent. And they're checking all the rooms. The house is really dark to me constantly. I know that was a choice, but creaky and dark. So they're checking out the house. And then George, I like saying James Brolin and Margot Kidder, but the actual real life people were named George and Kathy Lutz. Kathy had 3 children from a previous marriage. And when the movie opens, it's a year later from the real killings. George Brolin and Margot Kidder are looking at the house, and James Brolin, we know that beautiful head of hair, he seems like a really nice husband.
Yes, excited to be there.
We don't hear very much about why or what happened to Margaret Kidder's first husband.
Probably was balding, and he had to be shot. Come on.
Exactly. But the house is really cool. It's on the Long Island Sound, Long Island River, and it has a houseboat on it and a guest house. And George is a surveyor, and he has a company. We see his van that says George Lutz Surveying, and he does have a partner who we will see later.
Yes.
But they do know that a family was murdered in the house a year ago, but they go ahead and buy the house anyways because it's only $80,000, even though that's tough for them, even at $80,000.
Sure.
It's a bargain. Margot Kidder turns to James Brolin at one point and says, "Doesn't it upset you that a whole family was murdered in this house?" And he says, "Houses don't have memories."
Yeah, it's a good line.
Yeah, it is a good line.
It's a great line.
And they buy the house.
Yeah. I was surprised she also didn't say deeper into the movie, turn to him and say, "Did you ever consider us moving into the guest house?" I don't know how much ghosty, murderous things went on there, but I'm thinking probably not as much.
I would have slept in the boathouse after the first night.
Yeah, boat sounds way comfier.
Exactly. Typical unpacking scenes. Kids are playing. There's a dog, a great dog. I love the dog.
Yeah.
And we learn that Kathy's very Catholic.
Yep.
And she wants a crucifix hung in, I think it was the family room.
Yeah.
It was hard to tell.
Right.
But you don't get the feeling that he's very religious, but he hangs up the crucifix for her. We see that a friend of Kathy's, Father Delaney, arrives at the house to bless it. Now, the family's by the boat. They're ready to get on the boat. And Father Delaney knocks and walks in. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Seems a little odd.
Seems a little odd, but it was the 70s. And priests got to do what they wanted
Whatever they wanted.
do. Yeah, exactly. And then he hears giggling upstairs, and that brings him to go up to the second floor. Again, the family is not there.
They're not there.
And he goes in the room, which it doesn't say this, but it's supposed to be the eldest son who actually really did kill the family that lived there a year ago, his room. And some really creepy stuff happens.
Right. You're going to mention the flies?
That's the one thing that really freaked me out is those flies.
Red-eye flies, which I didn't know was a thing.
Did not know it was a thing. And I forget how I know this, but did someone yell at one point or change non-seasonal flies when they were upset with it or something? They do point out that they're non-seasonal flies.
See, that makes people even more angry. We expect the insects to follow the damn rules.
Exactly. So there's flies all over the window. He gets violently ill. There's a lot of covering his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to vomit.
I'm with him because of the flies, but keep going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what else happens in there? Oh, I'm leaving out the
Voice?
buried the lead. Yeah, the voice.
Yeah.
That screams at him to get out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
No,
And
of course.
he leaves. And when he gets back to the rectory, I guess they're in the rectory, he tries to call Kathy to warn her that there's something weird going on in the house. And the receiver of the phone, do you not love all the phones hanging on the walls?
It's the greatest.
It's great. And I think I even saw a pencil sharpener attached to a wall because there's a lot of sharpening of pencils. And she answers the phone and there's just static and he tries to talk, but he can't talk. And it's almost like he's having an asthma attack.
Yeah.
But I guess it's all demons. Later on, he tries to go visit Kathy and tell her that there's something wrong with the house because he can never speak to her on the phone. And him and the younger priest get a car. And just the car, it's like the love bug. Herbie the love bug. This car just falls apart on the freeway. It's really crazy. Yeah. And so they almost crash and then they don't get to the house. Also, there's Father Delaney really wants to help the family. So he goes to his higher ups to tell them that there's something wrong with the house and that they need to help the family. And to my great delight, the mayor of Amity, Jaws, the movie where he played the mayor, has a big fight, who also, Larry in the movie, has a huge head of hair. Do you remember that scene?
Everyone is well-haired. Everyone.
Huge head of hair. And they have this over-the-top screaming match.
No.
Do priests talk to each other that way? And he really tries to, the higher-up priest really tries to belittle Rod Steiger.
Yeah.
Just basically saying, you're insane.
Yeah.
Go rest.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when we're back at the house after the family moves in, George, did you notice he can't get warm?
Right.
So
Been there, George.
Yes. He starts, and the central heating is fine. Kathy lets us know the central heating is fine. Yeah. But she thinks there's something from the basement, that there's probably a draft from the basement.
Oh, there's something from the basement, all right.
Yes. After chopping, he goes to the basement to investigate. And there's like a icy draft. You just see, he doesn't spend much time down there at that point. But I think it's later that night, 3:15, George wakes up. And that brings back the actual real story that happened a year prior, because the son who murdered his family, Ronald DeFeo, murdered his family at 3:15. So that's brought back in. And George just wanders around the property, you would say, checking things out, going to the boathouse, and never really sees anything. He does go into his stepdaughter's room, and he notices the windows open. And that happens throughout the movie all the time. Everybody walks in and shuts that window.
Yeah, the windows does whatever it wants.
It's just always open. Yeah. The little girl is always sitting on the bed. And I also think it's around that point where she has this really creepy looking Raggedy Andy doll, and it's sitting in a chair.
Or not.
Or not. Yeah. Yes.
It seems to do what it wants.
Yes. The next day, we see Kathy returning home from shopping.
Yes.
I loved her outfit when she returned home. I just have to say. Now, can we talk about Kathy's clothes for a moment?
Sure.
It's Kathy with a K, by FYI, apropos of nothing.
Okay.
She has this great Annie Hall looking plaid skirt and tie going on.
Okay.
Is that, do you think, kind of schoolgirl Catholic we're trying to show her in that way? Because
yeah, they're attiring her into a remembrance of her Catholic upbringing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not a short little plaid skirt. It's a woman of her age length plaid skirt. I also notice in the beginning, she wears a lot of ribbons in her hair, and her nightgowns are very baby doll.
Yes.
In white.
And by the end of the movie, when she's screaming, less ribbons.
Less ribbons. As the movie goes on, she's more in granny nightgowns.
Yes.
And I think it's because her husband is turning into this most horrible human being.
Yeah, she should be in camo.
She should be in camo.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I really did appreciate that the costumers really went for it with dressing Kathy.
We love the costumers, don't we?
We love the costumers. And do you happen to know a costumer, Terry?
I do.
And who is that?
That would be my wife.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, we should have gotten Sharon in on this. Next time, we'll bring her in to talk about the clothes.
She'll tell you the manner in which these things are doled out. They're very important little things, but when they need the right outfit, they got to bring it.
Yeah. Yeah, you go into the producer's office and you have a rack of clothes, and I'm choosing this outfit because fill in the blank. Then Kathy's aunt comes and visits, and she is a nun. There is a lot of Catholic symbolism, and she shows up in the full nun's habit.
Yeah.
And as soon as she pulls up to the house, she's not happy. She's starting to feel sick, queasy, just stares at the house.
She pukes. I'm just going to say it. And the throwing up nun, which I cannot believe there's not a punk band who grabbed onto that title.
Yes. Seemed like a lovely woman.
Yes.
She really did.
You're having a really bad day.
Yeah. She gets the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Yes. We start to see George get really sullen and mean and picking on the kids, and he's still cold and he's splitting moral logs. He should have gotten some kind of technical Emmy for the axe.
Yeah, that axe throwing thing?
Yeah.
That looked real.
Yeah, that did. And I just felt he held it. It looked like he knew his way around an axe.
He probably had an axe in his hand for a month before.
Yes.
So that it would look like a baseball bat. It looked comfortable and ready to go.
I wonder if him and Barbara Streisand were married at the time.
And he had an axe to grind? Is this
No.
No.
And they had to sleep with Barbara James and the axe. He was just so attached to it. No.
And by the way, he was starting to have some bad hair days, which is unlike the beginning.
He's very disheveled.
Yeah.
He wears long johns, these kind of tight khakis with pockets in front. Very stylish, the khakis. It's around this time where all of a sudden we meet Kathy's younger brother, who I don't know if it was an engagement party or the wedding. He is awkwardly counting out $1,500.
Oh, that was prior to the wedding. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because he needed to pay the caterer in cash.
Yeah.
And I think it was his big job. He was in charge of that money, and he did not want anything to happen to it. He even wanted Kathy to count it.
Oh, I know. I was so uncomfortable. I felt like I should have paid.
Yes.
It just kept going over and over. Listen, I'll pick it up if you guys will stop talking about it.
And we see him put the money in his jacket pocket. And James Brolin comes in and he's in a bad mood. But he hasn't completely gone over to the dark side. He says some nice things to his future brother-in-law, I think. But he picks up the jacket when they go to leave, the younger brother, and the $1,500 is gone.
Right.
Everybody kind of starts arguing, where is it? And they finally leave, and James Brolin says, I'm going to cover it. When we come home, we'll find the money. It's around this time that there's a series of weird things that happen. Another brutal scene for me, at least. There's 3 kids. The daughter, she's the youngest, and 2 brothers. One of the boys, he's got his hand on the windowsill, and the window slams down on this kid's hand, and blood is just spurting. And it goes on forever because they cannot lift the window up, and they keep saying, it's like it's nailed shut. It's like it's nailed shut.
Yeah, this is the 1979 thing that's happening, by the way, because there's just limited things that could be done for this. There's no slamming down that causes blood splurting like that. That's the problem. I know that they needed to show that. And I swear to God, they took the violin hits that they used in Psycho during that.
Yeah.
And it seemed way over the top. It seemed to be overbuilt.
Skipping ahead, we see Kathy and the kid and James Brolin walking out of the emergency room. And Kathy goes, not a bone broken. So it's a mystery. Also, we learn about Jody, who is the youngest daughter's imaginary friend. But then we find out how freaking evil Jody is.
Yeah.
Jody, by the way, is a pig with red eyes. I didn't realize that for the longest time. I thought, is Jody one of the kids from the prior family that was actually murdered? I didn't know.
How did you figure out it was a pig?
I think I read it.
Oh.
Yes, Kathy's looking out the window.
Yeah, and it's, a guy with some lights. But
yeah. But I guess that's Jody. So now we're finding out time-wise, we're only like a week in because they do the timeline for the movie. And George's business is suddenly just falling apart. And so his business partner shows up, and I thought he looked a lot like Art Garfunkel. Didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now that you say that.
Yes. So Art shows up. And
no singing, though.
No singing.
Yeah.
And he wants Josh Brolin to sign the paychecks, and Brolin is just chopping. And he seems like a pretty cool partner.
Yeah. Art.
Yes. Art seems like a pretty cool business partner. And later on, we find out that Art Garfunkel's wife, I think her name was Caroline, a Woody Allen version of what a mystical person is like. She's very sensitive to these things, man. And she has short, curly kind of hair. Very pretty.
Right.
And she also, at first, doesn't want to go into the house, but later on ends up in the basement with George and her husband and the dog.
Right.
And they break down the wall.
Yeah.
And find a red room.
Yeah, and she starts it, by the way. Remember that?
Yes, she picks up the sledgehammer.
It's like a pickaxe, I want to say.
Pickaxe.
Because it's got a blunt end and a pokey end, and she used the blunt end to her credit.
First shot, she gets through the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see red and stuff.
Yeah.
And then James Brolin takes over.
Right.
And we see a red room.
I'm stumped that the demons would bother to paint.
I thought at first the red effect was just effects, that it was hell.
Yeah, but a really bad effect.
It
right?
was. Yeah. It was pretty bad. Meanwhile, back at the church, we're going to go visit Father Delaney again. And he is trying to pray away the evil since he can't get to the house. And unfortunately for him, he's blinded. And I guess the last time we see Father Delaney, he's sitting in this, which I think is I would think maybe a monastery, a home for unwell priests. And like you said, in that black hood, just really cool scene, actually. Now we're at the point where Kathy starts doing some investigation of her own. And she goes to the local library and gets a lesson how to work the microfiche machine, which was also odd to me because it's only a year old, the murders, the real murders.
Yeah, wouldn't they be on paper?
Yeah, someone would just lean over and go, oh yeah, here's a stack of newspapers, whatever. So she finds out a little bit more about the murders, but the main point is that the son who actually killed his family looks like James Brolin.
Oh.
That was the point of that
scene.
The
picture, yeah.
All right. The thunder-filled ending of this movie. Everything's culminating at a storm. Blood is oozing out of the walls. Down the staircase, Kathy sees Jody from the outside looking in, and Jody has manifested where she can see at least his red eyes.
Yeah. Or two lights, as I like to call them.
Two lights. They do not look like demon pig eyes in any way, shape, or form. No. They look like two dots, red dots.
Looks like you have a call on your answering machine from 1979.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I want to double back a moment. Besides the microfiche, Kathy also learns that the house was built atop a Shinnecock burial ground, and that a satanic worshiper named John Ketchum, and I think if you're into satanic worshipers, he's like really big in that crowd, this guy, lived on that land specifically. Wow. So I forgot to mention that. So now we're back to the big night where everything's happening, where the storm is out of control, and there's blood in the walls, the stairs, and George actually attempts to go after and kill the kids. And Kathy locks them in the bathroom. I believe that's where they are. And then Kathy's able to just shake George out of this manic, I'm going to kill the whole family. Right. And they get in a van and they go to pull away, but the little girl just goes, Harry. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Oh, another thing. I don't like that they locked the dog outside at night and chained him to the porch.
Very short chain, by the way.
Very short chain. Not happy, especially since it's unseasonal fly weather. Don't want that dog to be cold.
Yeah, the red-eye flies dog. Must have been horrible for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the dog happened to be in the basement when everything's happening. George, he redeems himself in my eyes, and he runs back to the house, and he goes to the basement. There's slime.
Doesn't he land in the blood pit, pretty much?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And then the dog returns the favor and pulls him out.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. You got a hairy guy being pulled out by Harry the dog right out of the blood pit. It's a beautiful moment. If they'd have had some sweet strings going on top, we would have cried.
It was actually one of the favorite part of the movies for me. It really was. And then, I don't know if it's because, I don't know how he got back up the stairs, because those were pretty much destroyed for the basement, but they don't even show that. You cut to the street, and he's holding the dog, and it's a big dog, and running back to the van, and that made me very happy.
Impressive run.
Yes. Okay. And then we see a card up on the screen, and it says, George and Kathleen Lutz and their family never reclaimed their house or their personal belongings. Today, they leave in another state. End of the movie.
I haven't said anything about this up till now, but we moved into that house right after that. It was fine. I don't know what the fuss was. We saw no flies. Okay, so does the house exist?
Yes.
Is it now a thing that people go to see it?
4 families have lived in the house since the Lutz, and nothing has happened to any of those.
No
4
deaths
families.
or anything?
Nothing whatsoever.
No.
Nothing scary, no walls bleeding, no axe obsessions, nothing. I'd like to go back to the original true crime where the son confessed that he killed his family. He eventually confessed. At first, he tried to say that
It was self-defense?
it was this kid, his nickname was Butch. Butch came up with so many reasons of why this happened. He kept changing it. The first thing he said was, it was possibly a mob head. And the family actually did have relatives in the mafia. And the son tried to say that he mouthed off to somebody in the mafia. And as retribution, the family was killed.
He killed everyone but him.
Yes,
What?
everyone but him. And so the police actually put Butch in protective custody because of this. And so through their channels, they spoke to the mafia. And the mafia basically said just what you said. We would kill him. We're not going to kill children over something like that. So that was just like thrown out. Oh, by the way, the son also had a really bad heroin addiction. The police basically think to get money, he killed his family. And he also asks the police how he can go about getting the life insurance money while being interrogated. But then the son also tried to say that demons were getting in his mind on a woman dressed all in black, gave him the shotgun, and he, for quite a while, got into his own alibi of the spirits and paranormal, made me do it, basically. Lutz's took lie detector tests after they left the house, and supposedly they passed them. 4 owners since, nothing has happened, and it finally came out that the Lutzes immediately got behind on their payments and they really couldn't afford the house. So as a way to ditch the mortgage, they played into the fact of one of the original son's alibi that there were spirits in the house. So that way they were able to say, there are demons in that house. We're leaving. We owe no money. Nothing.
This really makes it all the sense
Doesn't
I've been
it?
really looking for. Yes.
And also the lawyer for Butch confessed that he and the Lutz family sat down at the kitchen table and came up with the story because it also benefited Butch that he could later say in court, look, see, the Lutz family had to flee in the middle of the night. It's not my client's fault. That house has demons. George has always said that everything happened, but did finally admit that things were embellished, like the blood on the walls and things like that. George died of heart disease in 2006 at the age of 59. Kathy died of emphysema in 2004 at the age of 58. The couple actually divorced in the late 1980s. Their children have tended to shy away from the spotlight. Specifically, the daughter, Missy, who had the imaginary friend, and
still sees Jody, though, to this day.
Yes.
Jody,
yes.
fiery-eyed pig.
Yeah. However, she won a 4-H ribbon for
So
Jody.
it was all worth it.
Oh, it's all worth it. Daniel Lutz hasn't appeared in a 2013 documentary. He remains, of the 3 kids, he remains adamant that everything happened that was portrayed in the movie. Oh, the other son admits that it was a hoax.
Oh, so there's a little parent
Yeah, there's
there.
a split in the family.
Okay.
And Ronald Defoe, who Jr., Butch, died in prison in 2021. And that is History versus Hollywood, the Amityville Horror. That's a wrap for the Writers Hangout. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and thrive. Till we get to hang out again, keep writing. The world needs your stories. The Writers Hangout is sponsored by the Page International Screenwriting Awards. Executive producer, Kristen O'Verne. Producers, Terry Sampson and Sandy Adamitis. Music by Ethan Stoller.